5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
It's how I roll, a shooting star in a film noir. I'm floating around 10 feet on the ground. I'm floating around 10 feet on the ground.
Hello. How are you folks tonight? This is Dr. Baranchuk coming at you. John is fine. Welcome back for our next show. Thank all that are regular attendees, including Charlotte J., Sharon, Uncle Bones, who else we got? ASPA 60, Cryptid Search. How are you, bud? Who else we got? Craig Roach, researcher extraordinaire. How are you? John Morrissey, thanks for joining. As you can see, I'm here today without a hat. That's okay. One is on the way from a supporter of the program. So you know who you are, and I thank you very much for that. As always, if you're new, please subscribe during the show. If you like what you're hearing, give it a thumbs up or a like or whatever the case may be. Please pass on to your friends about the show. If you're going to chat amongst yourselves, as always, lowercase letters. And as always, if you have a question that you'd like me to address as we go through the show, put that in all caps, and hopefully it'll grab my attention, and I'll try and answer it as best as I can. Tonight's subject is using self-hypnosis to reprogram your fight-flight response. Now, y'all who have been with me for a while may remember episodes 1 through 7, where I did a fairly comprehensive review of this, but stopped short in that process after reconditioning your fight-flight. And in my book, Self-Hypnosis and the Neuro-Linguistic Programming, a particular technique called the Swish technique, come under the heading of fine-tuning your level of arousal associated with your reprogramming. You don't want to be limp and loose and relaxed in case you need to react, but you also don't want to be so wound up that you're running and pooping your pants or whatever the case may be. I apologize to regulars. I'm going to be in this discussion tonight. I'm going to be quickly as I can going over the physiology of fight-flight and some definitions, and that's something that I've covered in previous shows, but for new visitors and to kind of just refresh our memory, I'm going to touch base on that, but I want to make it quick as I can, but I'm also long-winded, as you know. Also, I just discovered that a fellow Untold Radio Network show starts at 8 o'clock. So I'm going to have to be more punctual and be sure I'm out of here at before 8 o'clock as to not interfere with his show. What else can I say? I guess that's about it. As always, the format of my show is to start with a story. I'm going to make today's show very brief. The story from today's show. I also was looking for hypnosis videos involving Bigfoot, and I found 0 of those. So, providing there's some time at the end of the show, I did pick up, I do have a video on age regression using hypnosis for UFO encounters. And if we don't get to that tonight, we'll get to that next show. It was pretty harrowing, actually, for me to see what's being done for age regression for UFO encounters. The process that I'm going to detail with you tonight, and probably into the next show, is much more in-depth and elaborate. Surprisingly, many folks don't use a particular step that is kind of necessary when you're going to be working with folks that may have experienced a traumatic experience. And a lot of the hypnotherapists in the videos I saw left that out. And on the video I have, she did a rather weak version. So I couldn't find actually a video of UFO hypnosis inductions that I felt was adequate. So when we get to that, we're going to be examining that video for some of its strengths, but a lot of weaknesses and what they can lead to in self-hypnosis. Why self-hypnosis? All hypnosis is self-hypnosis because every night when you go to sleep, in between waking and sleeping is what's called a hypnagogic level of trance. Trance behavior and trance consciousness is a natural part of our consciousness. We experience it every night when we go to sleep, and we experience it every day in the morning when we rise from sleep to wakening. So it's a natural part of your daily occurrence, although you may not have been previously aware of that. And really, what the hypnotherapist job, or yourself as your own hypnotherapist, is to kind of train yourself to stay in that hypnotic level of trance without falling asleep. And that's really the main issue for folks that are using hypnosis, be it for trauma or age regression or whatever the case may be. So let's dive into the very short story. This is taken from Ken Gerhardt's The Essential Guide to Bigfoot. Very good book. I recommend it. And this is from page 209 of this book, entitled Wooded Area Near Palestine. I once interviewed a gentleman named Sean Gregory, who provided me with a very convincing testimonial describing a scary encounter he had as a boy back in 1983. According to Sean, on the day in question, he was with 2 friends riding their bicycles through the woods when they were suddenly confronted by a Bigfoot looming some 30 yards in front of them. One of his companions apparently went into shock and lost his legs, collapsing on the ground. Sean recalled that the 6-foot creature was covered in long reddish-brown hair and had a wide, man-like face, shoulder-length head hair, a flat nose, and prominent teeth, which it displayed to the petrified boys. After what seemed like an eternity, the group gained their composure long enough to flip their bikes around and hightail it out of the area. Sean had always been hesitant to talk about the traumatic experience. And although this is a very short story, it has a bunch of fight-flight in there that I just kind of want to highlight. One of those, that his companions went into shock and lost their legs. Paralysis or an inability to move or freezing can be part of that fight-flight experience. They characterize them as the petrified boys, giving an image of kind of not being able to move. After an eternity, part of the fight-flight experience for some people can be a time warp or a time distortion. Time can pass either very quickly or very slowly, and so for some people actually in slow motion, like something called a peak experience. And then hightailing it out. The group gained their composure long enough to flip their bikes around and hightail it out of there. Gaining one's composure is part of what you experience as you're coming out of the fight-flight experience. So we'll jump right into some fight-flight information here. It was first outlined by a Harvard physiologist, Walter Cannon, in the 1920s. It's regulated by the stress centers of the brain, and particularly hypothalamus, and it controls the autonomic nervous system. Again, just briefly, we got central nervous system, brain and spinal cord, peripheral nervous system, which is the musculoskeletal system, as well as the autonomic nervous system. To remember autonomic, think of it as the automatic nervous system. It takes care of all those functions of your body that you don't have to think about doing: breathing, blood flowing, hair growing, skin reconstituting, hormone secretion, things of that nature. Anything that happens automatically in your body is part of this system between the hypothalamus and the autonomic nervous system. Now, the autonomic nervous system is divided into two divisions. One of them is called the sympathetic division, which is kind of the on and excitatory switch. Our vessels in our periphery, our arms and our legs, they constrict. They constrict for two reasons. One, our heart's beating faster, so it's pumping blood throughout our body a lot quicker. And secondly, because your body's feeling a threat, it is making sure that the vital organs of your body are protected by your feet and hands and brain, the vessels in those areas constricting, so more blood is stored around the vital organs. You can create stomach pain, nausea, or vomiting. Digestive tract decreases its internal contractions to reduce digestion, so on and so forth. Adrenaline rush, increasing blood sugar, blood pressure, heart rates. The blood vessels in the genitalia dilate, causing genital discomfort. Liver releases sugar into the bloodstream. My commentary on this is, if you think about it, this has really been integrated into our language. You hear people saying scared stiff, frozen by fear, getting the piss scared out of us, scared shitless. These are all reactions of a fight-flight response. And that when that stuff's happening, it's the sympathetic division of the nervous system kicking in. So here we got a little illustration of the sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous system. The sympathetic division, again, is the on switch. This is actually kind of hard for me to see without my glasses. Dilation of pupils, inhibiting salivation. You get a dry mouth. Bronchial dilation, which makes you breathe more rapidly. Inhibits digestion. More sugar rushing in. Stimulates epinephrine and norepinephrine, which is our body's natural stimulant. Gets us revved up. Relaxes the bladder, contracts the rectum, organ ejaculation. Never had heard of anyone in a fight-flight syndrome having an orgasm, but that's kind of interesting to me. When you realize that you're no longer in threat, that's when the parasympathetic division on the right-hand side kicks in, and pretty much the exact opposite happens compared to what happens in the sympathetic nervous system. The pupils contract. In the sympathetic divisions, the pupil dilate to allow more light in so we can see the threat better coming at us. You get more salivation in your mouth, decreases heart rate, bronchial constriction. Now you're breathing more deeply and regularly, stimulates digestion. And it's somewhere in between these oftentimes that people lose their bladder and bowel, or kind of more into the sympathetic division, but sometimes the parasympathetic kicks in so quickly that can also contribute to that. Contracts the bladder, you gotta take a piss, relaxes rectum, genital aspects. When some of the newer thinking on fight flight, some people are calling it fight, flight, faint or collapse, and freeze. So it's not, they're just not picking up on the fight or flight, but the freezing and the folding or collapsing, people feeling overwhelmed, hopeless, grief, anticipatory grief, exhausted. That's happening when the stress becomes chronic. And make no mistake, if you're walking around with a lot of stress, it's almost like you got a little monster hiding on your shoulder behind the bushes or behind your head, and intermittently it jumps out and it just scares you. And even if you're just carrying low levels of stress, this fight flight response is just below the threshold of it kicking in. And that's how people can end up having panic attacks, anxiety attacks. The difference between a panic attack, it comes out of the blue, where an anxiety attack comes in response to a specific stimuli. The freezing, getting stuck, shocked, overloaded, confused, bewilderment, paralysis. Interesting stuff, but I'm biased. So now we're moving into hypnosis. In terms of hypnosis, and kind of hearkening back to the fight-flight response, I believe the psychologist's name was Jacobson. If some of the other psychologists or therapists in the audience know different, please correct me. I didn't have that in my notes. But Jacobson discovered that when people relax, they can control their autonomic reactivity. They can gain control over a fight-flight response. And to that end, he began to teach people to relax, because that opens up the door to us being able to control those bodily functions. Normally, those bodily functions are on automatic pilot. We don't have to think about breathing, growing our hair, our heart beating. They're on autopilot. And for the longest time, it was thought that we had no way to control the sympathetic or the parasympathetic division of our nervous system. But Jacobson discovered that simply doing relaxation is the key to opening up and controlling these responses. So, not surprisingly, you'll notice the first step in self-hypnosis is narrowing your focus of attention. Second step, relaxation. And it's the relaxation that's giving us access to these bodily functions. It is the key that opens the door for our ability to control our fight flight response and all these bodily functions. Third step in self-hypnosis is relaxation deepening. Fourth step is creating a safe place. And this is one of the things, and I'll go into detail on each of these. This is one of the things that most of the therapists working with UFO experiencers didn't spend much time on, and that's a big mistake. Creating a safe place allows us to distance ourselves further from the trauma and the emotion that goes with trauma. And so it doesn't necessarily mean that the person's not going to experience some emotional reactions, but it strongly guards against it and minimizing it. Suggestion, post-hypnotic suggestion, awakening, and restoration to normal awareness, normal functioning, and post-hypnotic behaviors. So we're going to cover each one of these. Narrowing your focus of attention. If you go back, or if you remember the relaxation techniques I taught I'm not sure what episode, whether it was 4 or 5 or 6. Some people would argue that the relaxation scripts I've written in my book, and I kind of demonstrate a little bit on the show, are nothing but hypnotic inductions with only one suggestion: to relax. In terms of narrowing your focus of attention, the subject might be asked to focus their attention onto their breathing, repeat a single phrase over and over again, tightening or relaxing muscle groups. All these things force you to focus on what you're being asked to do and pull your focus of attention away from external environmental distractors. Of course, the old time hypnotherapists, they would wave a watch in front of the subject's eyes and tell them to focus on the watch moving, visually focus on an imaginary point about 6 inches above the crown of their head. The old spinning pinwheel, gaze into the spinning pinwheel. The common ingredient in all these things is they're narrowing your focus of attention, and in doing so, minimizing other distractions. Just by way of quick review, just having covered narrowing your focus of attention, I taught 3 relaxation techniques. Pursed lip breathing, breathing in through your nose, your mouth, or your nose and mouth at the same time. But when you exhale, exhaling through pursed lips, like you're going to whistle without making the whistling sound, or like you're blowing through a straw. This allows us to have our exhales to be twice as long or longer than our inhales. Why is that important? Well, if you'll notice, if you'll take a deep breath, when you take a deep breath in, your body tenses. When you relax and breathe through pursed lips, your body gradually releases that tension. So by exhaling twice as longer as you're inhaling, you're spending twice as much time relaxing as you are tensing. I talked about autogenic relaxation. It starts by taking 3 deep breaths. Focus your awareness on your right hand and repeat a relaxing phrase 4 to 8 times or until your arm gets relaxed. Then your left arm, right arm, left leg, both arms, both legs. And this sounds kind of like this. Now I'm relaxing my right arm, feeling more calm and feeling more peace. Now I'm relaxing my right arm, feeling more calm and feeling more peace. Don't have to get compulsive about how many times on each arm or each leg or exactly how you say it. This never worked to me until I started saying it out loud, because when I would say it out loud, it would force me to take a deep breath in and then say the phrase on the exhale. By the time I reach both arms, the phrase sounds kind of like this. Now I'm relaxing. Both my arms. Feeling more calm. Feeling more peace. Progressive relaxation. Well, autogenic relaxation is a good one to begin with, especially if you're highly distracted. Because if you're saying those words out loud, it's harder to think about anything else. With all these relaxation techniques, for example, you can purse lip breathe for about 5 to 10 minutes. Autogenic relaxation, progressive relaxation, we'll talk about in a minute. But in all these types of relaxation, you're going to get distracted when you first start learning how to do this. So that's okay. That's part of the learning curve. It happens to everybody. Be it any of these techniques. The critical thing is once you catch yourself being distracted, don't beat up on yourself. Simply say to yourself, oh, I got distracted. And then pick up on saying or repeating the phrase wherever you were in that process. Progressive relaxation. Some people would argue this is progressive differential relaxation. Involves tensing, starting either at the tips of your toes or the top of your head, and tensing that muscle group to the count of 7 and then letting go. Tensing again to the count of 7 and letting go. So, for example, let's say we've done our head and we're down at our neck. And one way to relax the muscles of your neck and shoulders is to simply shrug your shoulders up towards your ears. So I'm going to ask you now to tighten the muscles of your shoulder to the count of 7, 2, 3, tired to 4, tired to 5, 6, 7, and let go. And you repeat that 2 times on each muscle group. And again, in the scripts in my book, I've got actually scripts for all these things written out. So you could just read it into whatever kind of recording device you want and follow along. A note about progressive relaxation: if you're one of the many that have back problems or any kind of injury to any joint in your body, you don't want to continue to tighten that area. You'll notice that when I did when I demonstrated that. I said, tightening, keep continuing to tighten to the count of 7 and counting to the count of 7. When you get to a joint or a muscle group that's painful, the tendency is going to be to not want to tighten it because tightening causes difficulty, causes pain. And in that situation, you just want to tighten the muscle group enough so that it's not relaxed, so that you can feel that tightness to the count of 7 and let go without making it tighter and tighter and tighter and tighter. And believe it or not, those muscle groups that are painful, this is actually a real important exercise to learn and to tighten and then release those muscles, because there's something called tissue memory or muscle memory. And in muscle memory, those muscles get locked down and that becomes normal. It's like they don't remember how to relax. And what you're really doing is neuromuscular re-education by tightening that that muscle just a little bit, and then letting go of that tightness, tightening it just a little bit and letting go. And you begin to allow the muscle tissue to re-experience the difference between tightening and relaxing. Tissue memory, muscle memory. I always wondered when I was a kid why we went up to the plate and took practice swings. Well, in fact, we're trying to take advantage of tissue memory from batting practice, getting that swing down and activating and getting those muscle fibers to fire quickly. I won't tell that story, so we can move. I've got another story about tissue memory, but we'll talk about that at another time. Relaxation deepening. It can be done by simply repeating the relaxation procedure again. More commonly, what's done are metaphorical suggestions like going deeper, going down deeper or lower, descending deeper. For example, now you're imagining yourself standing at a 4-step stairway. And with each step down, your body becomes much more relaxed than at the previous step. So now I'm going to ask you to take that first step from the landing down to the 3rd step. Just letting go and allowing those muscles to relax even more completely. Noticing how those stairs seem to be getting more cushiony or comfortable as you step down from this 3rd step down to the 2nd step. Becoming deeply and more deeply relaxed, 10 times more relaxed than you were on the 3rd level. And just going down step by step, and with each step deepening and giving yourself suggestions of becoming more flexible, calm, relaxed, and at peace, knowing that when you reach the bottom of the stairs, you'll be completely relaxed and at ease. Just more of the deepening techniques in this slide. Interestingly enough, some hypnotherapists will bring people slightly out of the trance, or just ask them to open their eyes. And when I snap my fingers, your eyes will close, and you'll become 30 times more relaxed than you're relaxing now. And they snap their finger, and people get more relaxed. This, when you're dealing, and especially if you're trying to recondition your fight-flight response to control your fight-flight response from something traumatic, either a traumatic event you're anticipating or a traumatic event that you might have already experienced, it's really important to create a safe place. Trauma is no picnic, and having a fight-flight response is no picnic. some good friends of mine were walking up a trail with hedges and brush on both sides of them, and about 30 feet on the other side of the hedge, all of a sudden a Bigfoot popped up and was that close to these three people. The fourth guy had ventured ahead. And as the person who was telling me this story, one of the common questions is, well, did you take a picture? He says, John, when you see a Bigfoot that close and you shit and piss your pants, the last thing you're thinking about is taking a picture. Okay. And so by reconditioning or reprogramming your fight flight response, that's going to be much, much less likely to happen, because you'll be able to, through be it stress inoculation or using hypnosis, you're going to be able to lower and maintain a lower level of arousal so that a fight flight response doesn't kick in quite as quick. And so part of instituting that comfort and safety is creating what's called a safe place. Imagine a place you've been before where, without even realizing it, you felt confident, secure, and completely safe. I'm not sure where that might be. Maybe it would be at the beach or at the mountains or on top of a mountain or out in the water. It doesn't matter where that safe place might be for you. Just allow yourself to go to that safe place and enjoy feeling the safety and security and ease. Okay. But these guys, this woman who we might get to, she only goes as far as asking the subject to imagine a safe cocoon around himself, and does that in a matter of a second. And for reconditioning for a potentially traumatic experience, or to avoid it becoming a traumatic experience, I advise actually creating a safe house. And when I do this with my hypnotic subjects, I have them basically imagine themselves drifting out of their body to a corner of the room and observing themselves in that room from any angle that they want, be it top, side, bottom, just observing their body there as their alternate body is drifting from the room, and then allowing that drifting to have them drift out of the building to an area that's pleasant and they feel safe and secure in. And then I'm going to ask you to build a safe house. I'm not sure what type of house you might want to build, be it an underground house or an above ground house. What kind of materials you might build? Would it be brick, wood, concrete, cement, a combination thereof, stone? And I'm not sure how you might perhaps even protect that safe house. Some people might build a moat, dig a moat around that safe house, and have a bridge that can be controlled over the moat, so that only people that you want coming into that safe place can come into that safe place. And then what kind of door do you want the house on the house? A steel door, a combination lock? And does it have windows, and what kind of windows? And entering the house, how many rooms are in this house? What do those rooms look like? Is there an upstairs, a downstairs, a bathroom, a sitting room? I always encourage them to construct, and even if you're in an imaginary safe place in nature, I encourage people to create some kind of viewing station. When I'm working with somebody creating a safe house, I'll have them set aside a room where they have a big screen television in it. And this big screen television is magical, but you can sit a comfortable couch as close or as far away from that screen as you want to, because it'll be on this screen that you'll be viewing your experience, or that you'll be viewing how you'll be responding in a more productive and safe and calm fashion as you have that experience. And the thing about it is it's so magical. You can fast forward into the future. You can go back into the past. It'll allow you to change your perspective and view. So you can, with this magical viewing device, you can view what's going on from the top, the bottom, the sides. You can turn around and look what's behind you or what's in front of you. I always encourage folks to build either a back door or a secret escape package, or a secret escape passage that no one else but themselves knows, for that ultimate sense of security and safety. And again, during the time that you're walking people through, is there art in it? What colors are the walls? You can use your imagination and create whatever you want that's going to allow you to feel more safe, secure, calm, and relaxed. Emphasizing the safety, the confidence, the security, just weaving those kind of suggestions, those kind of words into the construction of that safe house, because that's going to be where the work, the therapeutic work or the reprogramming work is going to be done, so that there's no danger or no risk of unpleasantness or negativity or trauma coming into that house. That's outside of that house. If you want, and you want to get closer or experience some of the intensity or of the experience, or make it more real, you can either move your couch a little bit closer to that viewing screen, but because it's in a magical screen, you can also just climb through that screen and immerse yourself in that event firsthand, as if you're actually there experiencing it firsthand, knowing that anytime you want, you can just step right out back into your safe, secure home, your safe, secure, and comfortable couch, so on and so forth. Any questions so far? No? Suggestion. You're making suggestions. I have people watch the event on the screen. Again, it provides distance, safety, and security. Protects against trauma and unwanted emotion. But if you're reprogramming your fight flight response, I would encourage the viewer to prescribe the desired symptom. How do you want to effectively behave in this Class A encounter? Allow yourself to see yourself reacting. How calm do you want to be? How aroused and ready do you want to be? Do you want to take a defensive position behind a tree or a rock? Do you want to be really brave and move closer to the creature? It's not important exactly what you want to do, because this is your script. This is your encounter, and you can program yourself to experience that encounter in a controlled fashion without having a fight flight response, and see yourself going through that entire encounter safe and secure, knowing that all will end well. I've already discussed using the magical viewing device to move forward in time, backward in time, and changing perspectives. And notice, for example, I hate maybe some of my future hypnotic subjects for Legend Meet Science are watching this show, so I hate to reveal too much, but notice even as we were building the safe house, and even as we're um, giving suggestions and viewing the screen, giving a different perspective. Well, on a literal level, you can change the perspective on the screen to see different highs and lows behind you, in front of you. But that's also a metaphorical suggestion for changing your experience on the event. If you've already experienced a traumatic situation that you want to get over, developing a new perspective, or getting a perspective so that you feel, if you're reprogramming your fight flight response, getting a perspective that allows you to stay calm, not thinking about the negativity and the worst things that can happen, because that's what kicks in fear. Questions? Those are suggestions. Now, next step is to give post-hypnotic suggestions. You're prescribing the desired symptom or outcome to continue upon returning to normal and awareness and life. Prescribing remembering, forgetting, or remembering upon arriving at a normal, natural state. Something called future pacing, as even as you begin to come out of your trance, imagining how you're going to behave with your newfound skills when maybe you have a Class B encounter. Imagining what that would look like, the confidence that you'll be feeling, the safety and security. Just allow yourself to run that script and run that mental movie, and seeing how well you're handling that situation in the future. I'm going to take the time to read something from David Mitchell here. These are I'll put it up. These are precisely the kinds of matters that are enmeshed in set and setting for any extraordinary, exceptional experience. Absolutely. Absolutely. And the nice thing about using stress inoculation or post-hypnotic suggestion, you can add your own context and create that context for yourself through these processes. Now, if that context doesn't necessarily unfold, you're still going to be in a better position to maintain composure and control and react in an efficient and safe way if you imagine yourself doing that in the future, if that makes any sense. Thank you, Dr. Mitchell. Emphasizing wellness, health, and normal functioning through the post-hypnotic suggestions. Awakening, and here's a biggie. So at this point, we've gotten the person relaxed. We've taken them down a staircase to deepen that relaxation. We then had them imagine themselves in a room where they leave their body, exit the building, go to another location, enter their house, watch whatever they're going to watch on their magical viewing device. Maybe they'll enter that device, maybe they won't. Well, one of the rookie mistakes is that beginning hypnotherapists don't reverse that process. They'll take them from inside the scream, yeah, Freudian slip there, inside the screen to suddenly becoming alert and awake and revived. Oftentimes, they can't bring the people out of trance. Now, the worst thing that's going to happen is the person will fall asleep, they'll wake up. But if they begin to have an emotional abreaction, they're re-experiencing intense emotions. If you don't take them out of that properly, you're creating undue stress for the person. So if they were inside the viewing screen, you got to take them out of the viewing screen. You got to have them get up off the couch and exit their safe place home, and securing it so that they know it's safe and no one can get in it. Lowering the drawbridge to get across the moat and not automatically raising that drawbridge again. Taking them, floating them back to that building, entering that room, re-entering their body, taking them back to being at the bottom of the staircase. And with every step up, they're becoming more alert and aware, refreshed and revived, remembering all the valuable lessons and details that you're going to be remembering as much as you care to remember. As you move from the basement step up to what was the fourth step, becoming more alert, revived, refreshed, safe, and secure, going from the fourth step up to the third step, allowing that refreshing and reviving energy to begin to flow into their muscles of their arms and their legs, surging through their body in a positive and healthy and cleansing way as they're moving from the third step up to the second step, becoming more refreshed and revived, maybe beginning to move your fingers and toes, feeling that energy flowing into those muscles. From the second step up to the first step, onto the landing, becoming completely alert and revived, refreshed and awake, going on with the rest of your day in a normal and natural fashion. Don't let yourself or let your hypnotic subject be stuck. Got a question? Haven't read it. Cryptid Sasquatch. Aren't you supposed to make them crow like a chicken when anyone says? Well, that's stage hypnosis. I'm not a stage hypnotist. I am a hypnotherapist, and not a complaint, but to teach you. Yeah, we're not going to have time to do the video, so I'll ramble for a little bit. In stage hypnosis, the hypnotist starts with a room full of 200 to 300 people. And what do they ask? Who wants to be hypnotized? Well, people raise their hands. Well, guess what? The people who raise their hands are already going to be more likely to want to be hypnotized and will be successfully hypnotized from the ones that don't raise their hand. So they cull a large group, anywhere from 10 to 20 people. And as they walk up to the stage, or let's say it's raining outside, the stage hypnotist says, "Hi, I'm Dr. So-and-so," shakes their hand, and we're having beautiful weather out there. Well, the person that says, "Yeah, it's great weather out there," he squeezes their hand to kind of mark or anchor that response. They go up on stage. The person that says, "Hell no, it's raining like cats and dogs," he shakes their hand, but either lets them on stage, but briefly then will dismiss them, or immediately has them sit down. So now he's got, from his 20 people, he's got 10 people on stage. And so then he walks down the line and starts interacting with people and watching for how they're responding to his subtle suggestions. And they typically call those 10 down to 5. And he started with a room full of 200 to 300 people, and he's found the 5 most hypnotically susceptible people in that room. And that's why these stage hypnotists can do that kind of stuff, can make them quack like ducks, and do things for humor. There's no humor in hypnotherapy, not to mean you can't have a humorous experience, but we're not about embarrassing people. We're not about, making people do things for entertaining purposes. We are about trying to help people deal with emotional issues. So it's a serious process. And as such, we don't have the luxury of picking the most hypnotizable subjects. We've got to work with the hypnotizability of the patient or client in front of us. That may be low, that may be medium, or that may be high hypnotizability. We've got to work with what we've got in front of us. Okay? No, I realize we're kidding, Cryptid, but it served as a cue for me to discuss something I wanted to discuss. Any last minute questions? We've still got some more stuff to go for our next session, at which time we will also then review that video. So you want to keep the process that I've been describing in mind, because we'll be revisiting that. Any questions? Going once, going twice, and in consideration of my fellow Untold Radio Network viewer, I'm going to thank you all for attending this discussion, this lecture, this educational session on self-hypnosis. Again, scripts for doing all this are in the back of my book, Psychological Horizons in Scientific Bigfoot Research, available on Amazon. And as always, I'm going to wish you a good evening. Please keep your mind open, your boots on the ground, and your heart with your higher power. Thank you. Peace out.
I see you running out of reason. Don't try to blame it on the seasons. Why you wanna walk away? When we began, swear we had something that would last. Baby, has the feeling passed? Falling was easy. How do I make it stay? I'll never let go of you. Tried and true. Oh, I'll never let go of you. Tried and true. Was I a fool? I know sometimes I may wonder, but I would never leave asunder a thing as good as what we have. Is it a rule? What's good is worth the fighting. There ain't no denying that you and I were made to last. Falling in was easy. How can we make it stay? I'll never let go of you. Tried and true. Tried and true. I will never let Can we go back to the start? I'll never let go of you. Tried and true. I'll never let go of you. Tried and true. Tried and true.
Wanna do it all with you by my side. Bring fear in, meet me